Way back in October, I uploaded a video with the shameless title of The Saddest Moment in Minecraft Speedrunning. Back in the days where the only thing you wanted was a fortress and you would mine gold and trade for pearls. It was simpler times, but the strats sucked. So after throwing more than one sub 20, which was top 10 at the time, I lost motivation and started my skyblock phase. But a little over a month later, I came back to speedrunning. Hypermodern was the best new strat, but I still never got that classic sub 20. At least until now, because I don't suck at the game and I can pull it off. So I did, yay! The spawn I got was almost perfect. I spawned in an island surrounded by completely ocean, so it was just free real estate for shipwrecks. The only thing I was missing were some trees so I could actually make a boat and look for shipwrecks, but it was fine because there was a shipwreck right here. I tried to grab the food chest, but it was kind of buried in gravel, so I went for the iron instead. And I got enough iron, just barely enough iron to make my pick and bucket, so it was still playable. I was supposed to get 3 logs here, but I got 2 because I'm dumb. I needed the third log so I could make a wooden axe since I didn't have enough iron for the axe. I noticed that here. I made my pick and shovel because I had enough iron to do that. I took a double take here because I realized I didn't have the materials for an axe, so I actually got the third log this time. Now that I finally get my axe crafted, I start front-loading logs because the run was intended to be a hyper-modern run. I was not at all expecting to play classic, so I needed to load up a bit of wood for my boat and doors and some beds. Oh yeah, front-loading wood in a shipwreck sucks because you have to swim through like a labyrinth to get to it. Anyways, I crafted the rest of my stuff and I was about to craft a shovel out of habit, but luckily enough I was able to realize I had already made an iron one in time. And I got my flint pretty much instantly, so that's cool. Now that I had a shovel, I could actually open the food chest from earlier, and it had an okay amount of food. Potatoes and bread, I think, are like the same thing as long as you cook the potatoes, so it was fine by me. I didn't spend long at all looking for a magma ravine. I turned my hitboxes on for a second to glance for kelp that could tell me where a magma ravine was, but instead just decided to go for the nearest ravine in general. I made a mistake here. I kind of forgot I had flint, so I dug for more flint. Luckily, I didn't waste too much time because I got flint pretty quickly again. I started digging down at one of the ends of the ravine because ravines still do work with lava dowsing. It's just, there's no way to determine which side of the ravine is the start of the ravine. So you pretty much have a 50-50 shot of hitting lava whenever you dig down, and yeah, I hit lava, ow. There's nothing a water bucket can't fix though, because water buckets are a little overpowered. Falling into lava is something I'm used to whenever I do dig down, so it wasn't like too scary. The only thing I was concerned about was my hunger situation because for how little food I had, taking that much damage is pretty bad. The time I'm entering the Nether is still really good, just because of the proximity of the shipwreck and the first dig down I did hit lava. So I'm entering at 2:30, and whenever I get into the Nether, first thing I was looking for was a bastion, but then I saw the most irresistible spawner. It was level with the terrain and it was just right there, so my mind instantly switched to playing Classic. It had been a long time since I played Classic, so I had to get ready to fight blazes without fire resistance, because I'd say 99% of the time I'm fighting blazes, I already have fire resistance and I don't have to worry about them like doing harm at all. But to play this run out, I had to go back to my old school strats and learn how to fight blazes again. Except this time I wasn't going to be using a shield. It's not bad at all though, because the terrain is level with the spawner, and that's why it was so irresistible, because since the terrain's level with the spawner, it gives me plenty of room to run side to side, and as long as you have room to strafe blazes, it's really easy to dodge their fire charges. You see that blaze in the distance? I hate that blaze. I was gonna go kill it, but then I saw that some more blazes spawned behind me, so I was gonna take care of these first. But the reason why I hated that blaze in the distance is because random strays like to spawn in your fortress while you're fighting blazes, and while you're fighting blazes, the one in the distance lands a shot on you and it's just annoying. While I go to take care of the blaze, I also activate the spawner because for some reason whenever you enter a spawner's range for the first time it spawns instantly, so I had to deal with a few more blazes. Which is good because as long as I can get as many blazes as possible, that's as efficient as it's gonna get, because I'm not concerned about the danger of there being a lot of blazes, I'm more concerned about the rods. Another pack of blazes spawned while I was running away and I didn't really think about it. Instead, I started mining out the spawner floor right here. And like I was talking about earlier, how distant blazes just snipe you, yeah, that kind of happened here. And this is exactly what I didn't want from that stray blaze in the distance, but now I had to go back to the blazes at the other spawner and take care of them. Since both the spawners have been pouring out blazes, I was getting my rods fairly quickly. I got my 5th one here. I didn't get my 6th one here. Instead, I got meleeed by a blaze because for some reason blazes can do that. And I head back to my spawner. For some reason, there's a wither skeleton here. I don't know why, but I prioritize the potatoes because wither skeletons suck. I think now's the time I start taking in the world around me because if I want to play classic, I'm going to need a waste biome, and I changed my render distance to 2 chunks so I can hopefully spawn a piglin in. I think it would have been more efficient if I changed my render distance to 5 chunks. I don't know like the super technical details, but to my knowledge, the game just tries to spawn as many mobs as it normally does in a smaller area. But I got my 6 rod, break the spawner just to be a little safe, and now I start looking for piglins, or at least a waste biome for me to mine gold in. I think the only thing changing my render distance did was spawn me more zombie piglins, so I decided to change it back up so I could see the world around me better, and I find a perfect open area to mine gold in. It really took me back to mine gold in a speedrun because the last time I unironically mined gold to trade with piglins must have been at least 4 or 5 months ago. At the time, I didn't realize how inefficient it was to mine gold while trading with piglins because I'd never really played a Bastion before. Because by the time you have a few gold bars worth of nuggets to trade with some piglins, they go through it pretty quickly, so whenever you go to leave and mine more gold, they're already done trading and you're kinda just wasting time. I tried messing with my render distance again so I could spawn a piglin, but I think there already was one, I just couldn't see it because it was right over this hill. I only caught it in the subtitle, so I started digging the infamous pit. And after all that mining, I was able to make an entire 4 gold bars, which doesn't give me a very good shot at getting pearls, but it's better than nothing. So I started trading and tried to overlap mining gold as much as I could. Right now, the only thing keeping me on pace was my 230 enter, and the only reason it was a 230 enter is because I skipped out on beds and didn't play a village. So aside from pearls, my biggest concern right now is having string for beds or finding a village on the way to the Stronghold. After throwing some more gold to the piglin, I checked for pearls, which I didn't get any, and then I got a pearl trade right after checking, but unfortunately, it was the lowest amount of pearls you can possibly get in this version. Now that my pearls were low, there was another concern with the run that I had to deal with, and that was I was likely going to need a few eyes in the portal frame already. I continued mining gold since I still had time to kill. There was one piglin trading 5 gold, so I might have just barely enough time to mine enough for like a few more bars. What was good about my spawn though is whenever I look for the Stronghold, I'm going to have nothing but water surrounding me, which gives me a straight shot to it, and I can ocean travel pretty much the whole way there, which is probably the fastest way aside from using pearls or blind traveling. And since Ender Eyes will point to the closest Stronghold, I'll have to boat only about 1400 to 1600 blocks. But then again, I still need a village, and you don't really find villages in oceans that often, so I had a lot to bank on. I finished mining my last wave of gold, and at this point, I told myself if this last wave of trades didn't give me pearls, it was just time to reset. Also, I finally changed from 2 render distance. I didn't even notice that I had it on for the whole time. I already had a piglin, so there was no point in keeping it at 2 render distance, but I fixed it anyways, and then I threw the last bits of gold. I would say I took this time to sort my inventory out a bit, but I'm still leaving all sorts of garbage in my inventory that I don't need, like a gold nugget, quartz, and magma cream. But I think I was just so concerned with pearls that I didn't even care about the rest of the items in my inventory, and I got my second pearl trade. And I didn't want to push my luck, so I left with 10 pearls, which means I needed at least 2 eyes in the portal frame. Luckily, the proximity was really good on this nether, because the fortress and the gold were all by my portal, so getting back to the portal was only going to take me like 20 or 30 seconds. And the time's not even that bad, because the way I see it is I'm blind traveling at sub 9, but I'm just getting like a 1400 block blind travel. So my nether exit time still is pretty good. Although I kind of forgot that I dug down to build my portal, which is pretty bad if I'm trying to exit from the portal I came from. So I had to start building up as quick as possible, but it actually wasn't terrible. Since I dug down in a water ravine, I can just build up like 20 blocks and swim out. I don't know what I was thinking here, because I was about to start building up with obsidian, which would have been terrible, because that's pretty much my only way of one-cycling the dragon, but I make it to the ocean, and I start crafting my ender eyes because with how far I have to travel, I don't have much time to kill. This is probably one of the most painful parts of a speedrun, is whenever you start throwing eyes in the ocean, and then you have to swim down to get them because you either missed them or you just couldn't get there in time. Oh, it hurts. But it's fine because I took note of the angle the eye went in, so I know where to go for the majority of the way. Now's the time where I speed up the video because I don't think me rowing my boat for 5 minutes straight is going to be the most entertaining thing. I found a full shipwreck on the way, which is good because I had gone through pretty much all of my food in the Nether, so I was going to check the food chest of this since all I had left was a suspicious stew, and I ended up just getting poisonous potatoes and armor, so I kept boating and decided just to bank on some animals or a village. It was a good call that I went out of my way for Dolphin's Grace since I still had another probably 1,000 blocks to travel before I reached the Stronghold, but the Dolphin left me anyway, so it doesn't matter, and I just went back to my boat. But it wasn't long until I found another dolphin, and this dolphin was way cooler. I don't even care about the last dolphin, because this one actually stuck with me. I think the ocean alone is the only reason why this run was even a sub 20, and the dolphin actually saved me up to 30 seconds, because dolphins are significantly faster than using a boat. And luckily enough, I was able to spot a coastal village on the desert over here, which means I got my beds out of the way, and all that was left was to triangulate the Stronghold. But before I took any beds, I went to sleep so I didn't have to deal with any mobs, because going to sleep and just getting rid of the mobs entirely is way faster than having to take care of any in your way. Oh yeah, that food problem I've been having where I'm only left with a suspicious stew and the shipwreck had nothing, well, I'm in a village, so I have a lifetime supply of bread. I don't know why, but I grabbed like 5 hay bales, and I only really needed 2 or 3, because my only concern at this point was going to be running out of hunger on the way to the Stronghold. It's not even really a time loss to grab an extra couple of hay bales, it just makes me look like a bad player. Anyways, all that was left for me to do now was to travel by foot, and since I was in a desert, triangulating was going to be real easy because the terrain's flat and there's no obstructions in the way that can mess up my angle. And there was some water worth utilizing on the way because boating is faster than sprint jumping, so it's probably worth boating as much as possible if you can. And it started opening up into an ocean, so I started getting hopeful that I might get an ocean exposed stronghold if I was lucky. I think if I could see myself in real life right now, I would probably be about 2 inches away from my monitor trying to look for stronghold rooms that are poking out. But unfortunately, the ocean floor started shallowing out too much for there to be a chance at an exposed stronghold room of some sort. And I knew I'd just barely entered the stronghold ring, so it was worth throwing another eye to make sure it wasn't right by my side, and it started pointing towards the coast. And since strongholds don't generate in the ocean, I had pretty high hopes that it generated right on this beach. Also, I actually caught the ender eye before it fell in the water, so that's pretty much the highlight of this whole run. Hope you enjoyed. Assuming the stronghold snapped to this coast, I start preemptively making lines out of gravel so that if I throw another eye on the side and it snaps, I know exactly where it is. And I can already see the coast ending right here, so I start placing my last few blocks because this will tell me if the stronghold is either right here or across the ocean. I built all the way to the end of the coast though because my mind was still set on there being an ocean exposed stronghold, so I wanted to make it all the way to the water so I could see and make sure it wasn't there. But the ocean floor was still too shallow for there to be an exposed stronghold, so I threw another eye to see if I passed it, and I definitely passed it. So now all that was left to do was to go to the side and find out which chunk exactly it was in. I was about to run out of sprint here, so I actually used the suspicious stew I got at the start, which wasn't worth it because of course it was poison. I mean, it's only a 1 in 6 chance you get poisoned by stew, but if you do get poisoned, that really messes up your hunger situation, especially if you're doing a hypermodern run. Oh yeah, that thing I was doing, triangulation, yeah, I 100% found the chunk, it's right here, so I look for 4-4 and continue the dig down. And you can kind of tell that the poison is butchering my health right now. I'm down to 2 hearts, which means taking the fall damage of falling into the starter staircase could probably kill me, so I craft my bread here to be safe. It took me a few seconds before I realized that my health was down to 2 hearts because of that stew, and I was digging down to 15 minutes, which pretty much guarantees me a sub 20. The only thing that could go wrong at this point is if there's a giant ravine going through the stronghold or the dragon doesn't decide to perch for 5 minutes. Oh yeah, I still needed at least a 2-eye in the end portal frame to even enter the end and complete the run, so there's that too. Usually whenever you go into the starter staircase, you'd water bucket clutch to negate fall damage, but I have a really bad habit of never getting water ever. Even though I was in an entire ocean, I could never be bothered just to scoop up a bit of water. Anyways, the stronghold wasn't that bad. It had a lot of staircases and open hallways for the portal room to generate in. It was just a matter of which hallway it was. I was surprised it wasn't down this double staircase because that gives the portal room all the space it needs in like the world to generate. I glanced down here. This was too far to look for, so I turned back immediately. Every other path at this point was too busy, so it was time to go back to the starter staircase and choose a different direction. I chose to go Busta because I saw the hidden room right here and my mind decided it was most convenient to go this way. First thing I saw was a staircase branching out which looked good, but then I saw it turn right back into itself. But I double checked it anyways and it was just another staircase leading back to where I came from. I glanced down this hallway just to be sure it wasn't here real quick, and it actually ended up being here. And the moment of truth, it was a 3-eye, which was more eyes than I needed for it to be completable. And not only that, it gave me an extra pearl to spare so I can use it whenever the dragon perches. The terrain was good enough for me to walk across luckily, and I didn't have to waste a pearl, but I decided to crank anyways. It wasn't really impressive considering there's ground below me, but I still did it. Now usually I wouldn't care about a sub 20, but knowing it was classic made me a little bit nervous and I struggled to turn on hitboxes there. It took like 4 tries, but I did it. Also, the dragon's on the left side of the island whenever I enter, so after I set up my obsidian, I need to go to the right and hope for an insta-perch. I start checking for the insta-perch in F5 right now because it's in the perfect spot to do so. I snap back and get my beds ready just in case, but it didn't. So all that's left for it to do now is to perch. So I hope you enjoyed this monthly upload and subscribe.
So,
Nothing much.
you guys know Emerald?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's been popping off.
On you.
Yo! Oh. Holy shit.
Oh.
I just got an 1818 with Classic.
Wow.
That's my first sub 20 with Classic, dude.
Yo. Wait, you didn't tell us?
No, I didn't even think it'd be good pace. I mean, I left the Nether at like 8:30.